Hello everyone, and welcome to Chapter 3 of the Python Test Automation course. My name is Carlos Kidman, and in this chapter we're going to be talking about the PageMap pattern. Now, the PageMap pattern is a style that I like to use along with the page object model. But before we dive in more, I want to hand it off to my instructor, Carlos. Alright, so the page object model, it really just tells you to represent the web pages as objects or classes, and it doesn't really tell you anything more after that. I have seen, I don't know how many variations of this, but for some reason I think people overcomplicate it or just take it too far, or I don't know. Honestly, every time I go into a new place, I almost always have to go in there and fix things or clean things up. And so I want to make this video for those who want to see the style that I like to use, that page map pattern. Now, it really is straightforward. So the page map, which is that blue box there, it's the class that answers the question, what is on the page? These would be all of your elements. The page object itself, the green box, answers the question, what can a user do on the page? You put both of those together and, well, there you go. The page map pattern is born. It really is that simple. So with the test that we've written right now against Stats Royale, we're going to be putting the page map pattern to use here and refactor those tests out into the page object model with the page map pattern. Alright, so if we start where we left off, we had this test here. Test iSpirit is displayed with the steps out. And then I gave you guys some challenges to do. Now, I didn't give you this one per se, but you should have multiple tests now. For the second test, this one is test iSpirit details are displayed. And I'll walk through that flow real quick. So here's the cards page. If I clicked on the iSpirit, then it took us to the details page of iSpirit. So I'll call this one the card details page. Now, I like how this guy's getting so mad. Chill, friend. Now, what we want to do is for the details, we care about iSpirit, the name. We care about the type, which is troop, the arena, which is 8, and the rarity, which is common. We'll forget about everything else for right now just because of the demo, but those will be the things that we're looking for. So let me close this video because this guy is really distracting. So if I right-click on iSpirit and inspect, opens up our drawer over here, and now we can get this highlighted. Here's the text of iSpirit. Now, I don't want to just search for iSpirit because I want this to work for every card that I pass in, and I'm seeing that class with card name is there, so let's give that one a try. So I'm going to use CSS in here, and I'm going to say, give me the class that contains, and let's use this card name with a capital N, of course. There it is, and if I get the inner text of it, that's the right one. Sweet. So I'm going to copy this from quote to quote, copy that over, and then right here, number 4, step 1 is to get the card name. So I'm going to say card name is equal to driver.findElement. We did this one by CSS selector. Paste it in. There we go. And then I'm going to get the text out of it. Perfect. Card name is done. And we'll follow that same pattern for the other ones as well. So now that card name is done, we need to get card type, arena, and card rarity. So switch back over here. Let's get this, inspect it. And it looks like here they have the class of card rarity for the type and the arena. So clearly this isn't the rarity because this one's the rarity. So they got it all mixed up. Bad job, devs. So I'm going to find this one now. And if you want to, I'd say pause the video and see if you can complete the other 3, type, arena, and rarity by yourself. If not, just keep following along and I'll get it done with you here as well. So we had this, and now it's going to be something similar to this, but instead of card name, I'm going to have card __ rarity. And if we get the dot inner text of that, we have troop and arena 8. Alright, so I think we can use this. And there's lots of ways for us to figure this piece out. So it really just depends on you guys how you want to do this. So it is something like split equals driver.findElement by CSX again. Paste this in. Now here we could split this. Oh, I have to get the text out of it first. Excuse me. Now we could split this by that right there. And then we should have our card type would be split the first one. Then we'd have card arena, which would be the split string, and it'd be the second one. From there, we need to get our rarity. So right click, inspect this. We have card common, and we have this as well. Good stuff here. Let's see if we can find, because right here, this card common, I'm assuming that if it's epic, this would say card underscore epic. So we can't really use that. Let's see here, metric content, rarity caption. So if I try to grab that, let's try it here in the console. This is how we can make for sure. And I did the class. And let's have it be the class that contains, oops, the rarity caption. Okay, now if I get the inner text out of this, I have rarity common. Alright, let's give this a try. So I'm going to grab this, and if you saw, it has this like enter symbol. So let's give this a try. So my rarity, I'm going to say card rarity is equal to driver.findElement by.css selector. We'll paste this in. We'll grab the text out of it, and then let's see if we can split this by /n. And then give me the second one. Alright, without further ado, let's run the test and see what happens. One passed, yay! So it looked like it worked. So hopefully lines 30 through 34 made sense. If they don't, take a second and pause the video and see what those dot splits are doing, because we're really just grabbing the text within them and then kind of cutting them in half, if you will, and grabbing the pieces that we want to be using, which is how I'm then asserting 37 through 40. But now that this is taken care of and we kind of completed this, if we look at our test, there's a few things that are really good about this. I mean, number one, steps 1 and 2 are identical. We are navigating to statsroyale.com and then immediately going to the cards page. But it's taking us a lot of lines of code to do that. Granted, 2 of the lines are comments, but still. The next piece is that, well, it's kind of verbose, and especially lines 30 through 34, it starts to get a little funky in there. It gets a little more cryptic than how easy things were, you know, from lines 14 and 15 here. This is a little cleaner to read. Things down here are now getting worse. I could do things like renaming my variables, of course, but the concept is that as you start scripting tests, the more difficult the test is, the uglier your scripted test becomes. And this is where things like the page object model and PageMap pattern really come in to save the day. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go into our file structure here, and underneath our Python training, we're going to make a new Python package. And we're going to call this one Royale. Then within Royale, we'll make another package. We'll say new Python package, and we'll call this one Pages. Now, believe it or not, the first thing that we actually are doing is, yes, we're going to statsroyale.com, but we're actually navigating to the cards page. And if we look at the website, the cards page is inside, or the link itself is inside of this header navigation bar. And so we're getting there by this, and regardless of the page I go to, let me go to this League and Events random page, this header nav persists between everything. So we're actually going to represent this header nav as a page, which is kind of funky, but when you think about things as objects, you can think of this persisting header object on each one of our page objects. So let's start with that first. So underneath Pages, I'm going to make a new file, and this one is going to be called headernav.py. We're going to call this one the headernav map. Inside of this, we need to give or pass in a driver. And then we're going to hold a variable called self._driver and have that equal whatever driver we pass in. Now the rest of our class has access to the driver. The first element, and really the only element that we need to worry about right now, is that cards link. So this is going to be a property, and we're going to say cards link, and then say return self.driver. And we're going to have this find the element. And then we had by.css selector. And you can see I'm basically typing the same thing that I had in our test cards file. So instead of typing it all out again, I could really just grab this and copy this as well. So let me grab this here, copy it on over, paste it in here, and now this is actually done. Now, you saw that I didn't get a lot of help from a lot of things here. Normally, you'd say by, dot, and you got all of the different types of selectors you could use. This didn't give me anything. And well, if I look over this, it says, hey, there's an unresolved reference called by. Do you want to do something with it? Fortunately, PyCharm is smart enough to say, hey, I think I know what you're wanting. So how about we import this in for you? So there we go. It's now included. The next piece is to actually have the page object. Now we have the map. Now we're going to create the page object. So this one is just called header nav. And I think my nav, I'm actually going to make a capital N. So let's do that. Header nav, and then def init. We're going to pass in a driver to this, and then I'm going to say self.map is going to equal a new header nav map. This requires a driver, which I'm already passing into the init and passing into that now. Now I'm going to make one method in here just so you guys can see kind of what the nav is going to be looking like, but really there's a few ways for us to handle this part. So if I wanted to make a new method call, let's say go to cards page, then now I can use my map, self.map.cardslink.click. And now that's handled for us. And the header nav is done. The next part is that all of the pages are going to have this header nav. And whenever you have objects that share kind of these properties or actions or things kind of similar together, we call these things base properties or base values, if you will. And so we want each of our pages to inherit from something called a page base. If they all have the same functionality, then they might as well share that functionality. And this page base is going to represent that. So inside of pages, I'm going to right click. We're going to make a new Python package, and I'm going to call this base. Inside of here, we'll make a new file, and we'll call this one just pagebase.py. Make it a little bit bigger here. And then just like we had before, we're going to say class pagebase. Let's do our init. Now we want to make sure to pass in a driver, of course. And then we'll say self.headerNav is equal to a new header nav. And we'll pass in our driver. It doesn't know what header nav is, so let's bring it in. And there we go. And we'll leave this kind of the way it is for right now, but now we have this page base object that all of our pages can inherit from, and because we have this header nav within it, all of those pages will have it as well. We'll see this happen as we make the next page. So now, outside of our base, inside of our pages, we're going to make a new file, and this one is just called cardspage.py. And let's start with our cards page map. Ooh. There's my init, driver, self._driver, and now just so you guys know as I'm typing this, the underscore doesn't really do anything. In Python, everything is basically public, and so the underscore driver is really just telling the person reading this that I'm wanting this underscore driver to be kind of private. In other words, you shouldn't be accessing the driver through the map. You should be accessing the driver in other ways. So I'm leaving it as an underscore, just trying to tell people reading it and using it not to really use it in that way. So now that I have this, let's go down one more, and I'm going to have another app property, and I'm going to call this one the Ice Spirit card. So Ice Spirit card should only be one app property sign. And then let me go back to my test here, test cards, and this was the Ice Spirit card. So self._, paste this in. It's like, hey, I don't know what by is. Now you know what it is. All right. So now we have our cards page map, which also has the iSpirit card. Last thing we'll do now is, just like the header nav, we're going to make the cards page object. Definite. Hopefully you're seeing the pattern already. Map equals cards page map. Got to pass in my driver. We're going to make one method in here. I'm just going to say go to. And if you want to get to this page, well, you need to click on the header nav or the cards link in the header nav. Now, if I try to get into my header nav, self.header nav, you'll see that nothing actually exists here. I say self dot and I have go to and map. And that's about it. Well, that's because we haven't inherited from that PageBase yet. And in Python, it's really easy to inherit. You just do one of these. There you go. Let's bring it in. And now we have our PageBase. You can see it gets imported for us automatically. Now it says, hey, wait a second, you need to call super as well. So let's add our super class call, super.init the driver as well. This will make sure PageBase gets its init triggered and everything as well. And then our header nav gets a value. So now that we have that, PageBase has been taken care of. We now have a map for the cards page as well. And now I can say self dot and header nav now exists. So header nav dot go to cards page, and that would now navigate us to the cards page. The other way, of course, would be to say self dot header nav dot map dot cards link dot click would be the other way to handle it as well. So I'm going to stick with the first one just because we had that first. And there we go. The cards page is now complete. And now if we wanted to use this, then I'd have to say something like cards page is going to equal a new cards page. We'd have to pass in the driver here. It doesn't know what this is. We have to bring it in. Now we have the cards page. And with this, now we could say cards page.goto. That would take us there. And then we could assert that cards page.map.iSpiritCard.isDisplayed. Okay, getting rid of all this stuff as well. Okay, so we've refactored it out, but it still doesn't seem like we've done kind of a whole lot. And it's because of this part right here. Now, I could do a few things to try to get it to look a little better. So for example, going to cards page, I could have this actually return self, and what that would do is inside of my cards, I could actually from here then say .map.iSpiritCard.isDisplayed. So that would get, effectively rid of one line. But even then, it's not really saving us a whole lot. Now I will say it is cleaner and it is a little easier to read, but even then, right now we have right off the map the iSpirit card, so it's still very specific to the iSpirit card instead of any card on the page. And this is where we can get some of the complicated logic out of our tests and into the pages to really make them powerful. So let me go back to the cards page. And the cool thing about this is right now we have this property of iSpirit card. Now what I'd rather have is a function that could just get me any card based on the name that I pass in. So here I'm going to say define a function, and I'm just going to call this one card. And you pass in a card name. And whatever the card name is, we're actually going to return this right here. Now let me grab this, paste it in here. And I'm going to use some string interpolation to get rid of this and pass in the card name here. Now this is a web element, so let's make sure we bring this in as well. And this would be an annotation or a type hint saying, hey, this function actually returns a web element at the end of everything. You'll see that used a little more as we keep coding. I'll use a lot more type hints and annotations as well. But now the string interpolation here, I'm going to pass in a card name. If this happens to be like iSpirit or Lava Golem or Wizard or whatever, it gets put into here and we'll find that card name. Now you're probably thinking, but Carlos, what about this plus sign though? Well, fortunately, we can make functions, y'all. We can make this say really whatever we want. So if I said def get card by name, and then passed in a name, and I'll put here card name like I had underneath there, I can say if there is a space in card name, like iSpirit, for example, because again, I'll put it right here. What we want is we want to get the word iSpirit, and we want to turn this into ice plus spirits to work with our locator. So if there's a space in there, then what we want is for card name to equal card name dot replace, and let's make sure that everyone knows this is a string. Once I do that, you'll see once I do dot, all of a sudden it knows everything I can do with a string. This is the reason why type hints and annotations are actually really powerful. So I pass in a string card name dot replace, and I want to replace any spaces with a plus sign. Once I have that, then I can return self.map .card and pass in the card name. So believe it or not, this is also returning a web element and will work with any one of these. So let's say that instead of iSpirit, I had Lava Golem. Well, Lava Golem is going to go into your line 17. Is there a space in there? Yes, there is, right there. So the card name is now going to equal, get rid of all my spaces, replace them with plus signs, and now it's going to equal Lava plus Golem. Pass that into here, and now Lava Golem is going to be found. If it was iSpirit, it would be ice plus spirit, and it's going to grab the right one. So I actually don't need this anymore, because I now have one function and one locator that will work for every card on the page. Now, that's better programming. So now if we go to our tests inside of here, once I have this, I could say, all right, so I want to go to it, go to, and then get card by name. I'm going to pass in iSpirit, and then make sure that this one is displayed. Notice also that now that I know that this returns an iWeb element, when I do a dot, now I have all the things I can do with elements, where before I didn't have that. So dot is displayed. Well, this looks much more readable now than what we had before even. Some people may say, well, I'd rather have the iSpirit on one side and assert the card instead of doing everything on one line. Well, we can totally do that. Like here, we could even say go to if we wanted, and then we could say iSpirit equals cards page, I'll get card by name iSpirit, and then replace all of this here just with our iSpirit as well. I mean, you can slice it and dice it however you want. The point is that now, no matter how you do it, it's actually pretty readable. And it's a simple test, yes, but look how we're now creating almost as English syntax instead of driver.find element this by CSS that. Now we're just saying cards page.go to, get the card by name iSpirit, is iSpirit displayed. And it's reading a lot more so like user actions than a scripted test would. On to the next page. I don't need this header nav or PageBase anymore. We're going to go into Pages, right-click, New File, and this one is our CardDetailsPage.py. And I think you guys know exactly what I'm going to be doing here. We're going to have class CardDetailsPageMap. Definite. We'll pass in our driver. Self._driver equals the driver. And now we had a ton of elements we needed to grab here. Now I don't need, let's see, I don't need any of these anymore because this is getting us to the cards page. So this would be cards page. Let's pass in a driver dot go to get card by name iSpirit dot click. Whoops, lowercase click. And that would get rid of this line and this line. That's all done there. Okay, so really this is the stuff that I care about. So these three selectors. So let's grab this first one. This is the card name. Back to card details page. We have at property. This would be card name. This is going to be a web element. Let's bring this in. Return self._, and I'll paste this in. Doesn't know what by is either. We'll bring this in. There we go. Card name is done. On to the next one. Oops, wrong place. Test cards. The next one was this card rarity mix-up because the devs done messed up. So let's call this one, because it doesn't really, it's incorrect. So I mean, let's say card category. We'll just call it that for now. Now this is a web element. Return self._, paste this in. Okay, we'll leave it like that for now, but I feel like we are just going to change it inside of our page object. And this last one here, it says rarity caption, which is our rarity. Card details. At property, I could just go prop as well. There we go. This one was card rarity. Web element, return self._, paste this in. Okay. Looks like a card details page map is done. So now that we have this, let's make a little bit of room. Class card details page. Oops, it's definite first. Definite, I mean not definite. We'll then do our driver. And let's do self.map is equal to a card details page map. We do want to inherit obviously from our PageBase as well. So let's bring this in. We need to call our super method. Add super call, there we go. All right, so to wrap up the chapter, I'm going to leave these empty here. And let's go to our test and refactor this out. Now what we're going to see is that not much changed actually. So here we're going to have our details page. And this was card details page. Here's our driver. Let's bring this in. And now our card name, go over here, grab all of this, is just going to be detailspage.map.cardname.text, as if nothing changed. Same thing with this. We're going to have detailspage.map.category, and that category is going to get split into our type and arena. And then this last one for the rarity, same thing. We have our detailspage.map.rarity, and split that up, and that's about it. So nothing for the second test has really changed too much. If anything, it didn't clean things up too much at all. But the first test for sure. Now we will clean up the second test in the next chapter. You will see this all change and become much cleaner, much crisper. But for now, the point of the page map pattern, the page object model, hopefully you saw with this first test here. So the cards page, notice the naming convention as well. You have cards page and then cards page map. Header nav and then header nav map. Card details page, card details page map. It's very, very simple. It's very easy to follow, very easy to train on, very easy to explain, which means that it's very easy to maintain as well. Anything changes on the cards page, you go onto the cards page or cards page map. And it's as easy as that. What you're noticing inside of here as well is that if I want to access the map, then you just do it through the cards page. If I want to access something like an action, then just do it right off of the page. So here, notice how I'm not using the map at all, and I'm getting everything done that I need. Where inside of the second test right now, there are some places where I'm accessing the elements via the map, and that's totally fine as well. In the next chapter, we'll be simplifying the second test by using models and services to clean up a lot of the stuff that we're getting, all this detailed stuff we're doing, because To our test and to our user, we don't really care about these very minute details. Yes, there are things that the developers could have done to simplify this, to make it a little more testable, sure, but we can still hide those details into the page objects and into models and services that we're building as well. So for now, just use this, and I'll see you in the next chapter.